Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to school. I know you must be extremely excited, as I am. There was no homework. We've been working on Khan Academy, and obviously today we're starting new lessons from our textbook. You ready for the lesson? Food. Kamiko asked 100 students in the cafeteria what their favorite fruit bar was: cherry, grape, strawberry, or blueberry. The results are shown in the bar graph. So we can see cherry has 32, grape 45, strawberry 18, and blueberry 5. What ratio compares the number of students who prefer grapefruit bars to the total number of students? So if we add those up, it's going to equal 100. You can check and do the math. And grape is 45, so we have 45 over 100. Draw a decimal model to represent this ratio. So this decimal model is a 10 by 10 grid, so it's 100 squares, and there are 45 shaded in. And what fraction represents this ratio? So 45 over 100, and if we simplify that with the greatest common factor of 5, we get 9 over 20. Ratios such as 32 out of 100, 45 out of 100, and 5 out of 100 can be written as percents. Percent in words. Percent is a ratio that compares a number to 100. Example, 75%, 75 out of 100, or 75 over 100. And if we use a decimal model, we have a 10 by 10 grid, and 75 of the squares are shaded in to give us 75% of the 100. Ratio, a comparison of two numbers by division. Percent, a ratio that compares a number to 100. That number may be less than, equal to, or greater than 100. Proportion, an equation stating two ratios are equivalent. To write a fraction as a percent, write and solve a proportion. Examples, write a percent as a fraction. Number 1, write 50% as a fraction in simplest form. 50% means 50 out of 100. Definition of percent, 50% equals 50 over 100. Simplify. So if we have 50 over 100, we find the greatest common factor of 50. So we have 1 and 2, and it equals 1/2. And in our decimal model, we have a 10 by 10 grid, and 50 of the squares are shaded. So 50% or 1/2 of the squares are shaded. Number 2, write 125% as a fraction in simplest form. 125% means 125 for every 100. Definition of percent, 125% equals 125 over 100. Write as a mixed number. So we're going to have 1 and 25 over 100 because we can take 100 out of the 125 to get 1, and then we have 25 left over for the 25 over 100. Simplify. We have 1 and 25 over 100, and our greatest common factor with 25 and 100 is 25. So we get 1 over 4, or 1 and 1/4. And in our decimal model, we have two grids that are 10 by 10. So the first grid for the 1 is all shaded. 100 out of a 100 equals 1. And then we have 25 out of 100 in the second grid, which is the 25% or the 1/4. Examples, write a percent as a fraction. Write 10% as a fraction in simplest form. So 10% means 10 out of 100. The definition of percent is 10% equals 10 over 100. Simplify. 10 over 100, our greatest common factor is 10. 10 goes into 10 once. 10 goes into 100 10 times, so we get 1/10. Write 97% as a fraction in simplest form. 97% means 97 out of 100. The definition of percent is 97% equals 97 over 100. And that is simplified. Write 135% as a fraction in simplest forms. 135% means 135 for every 100. The definition of percent, 135% equals 135 over 100. We're going to rewrite that as a mixed number. So we get 1 and 35 over 100. And if we simplify that, the greatest common factor is 5. So we get 7 over 20, or 1 and 7/20. Real world example, cell phones. In a recent survey, 35% of cell phone owners said they use text messaging features on their cell phones. What fraction of cell phone owners is this? Obviously, this is old because way more than 35% text now, and not many people have a flip phone anymore. And just for those of you that don't know, it was very difficult to text on those flip phones. They didn't have keyboards. You had to, so if number one has A, B, C, and you want to type a C, you had to hit it 3 times to get to C. Definition of percent, 35% equals 35 over 100. Simplify. So the greatest common factor is 5. So we'll get 7 over 20, and it equals 7/20. 7/20 of cell phone owners use text messaging features on their phones. That number is probably in the 90% now, right? Check your progress. Cell phones, in the same survey, 28% said they take pictures with their phones. What fraction of cell phone owners is this? So the definition of percent, 28% equals 20 over 100. And if we simplify that, our greatest common factor is 4, so we get 7 over 25. And again, way more than 28% use their cell phones for pictures today, right? To write a fraction as a percent, write and solve a proportion. One ratio is a fraction. The other is an unknown compared to 100. So write a fraction as a percent. Write 9/20 as a percent. So we're going to write the proportion. 9/20 equals n over 100. That n is the unknown. And we're going to solve. So what we have to ask ourselves is, what times 20 equals 100? And the answer is 5, right? So 20 times 5 equals 100. So 9 times 5 equals 45. So 9/20 equals 45 over 100. And 45 over 100 equals 45%. Write a percent to represent the shaded portion of the model at the right. So the portion shaded is 1 and 2/8. Hopefully you see there are 2 grids of 8 squares or rectangles each. The first one, 8 out of 8 are shaded, so that equals 1. In the second grid, 2 out of the 8 rectangles are shaded, so that's the 2/8. And if we simplify 2/8, we get 1/4. So 1 and 2/8 becomes 1 and 1/4. We're going to rewrite as an improper fraction. So 1 and 1/4, if we multiply 1 times 4, we get 4, plus 1 equals 5. So we get 5/4. And then we're going to write a proportion where we get 5/4 equals n over 100. And to solve it, we need to determine how many times 4 will go into 100. We know that's 25, so 5 times 25 equals 125. So 125 over 100, 125% of the model is shaded. Check your progress. Write each fraction, mixed number, or shaded portion of each model as a percent. 3/5. We're going to write a proportion. So we get 3/5 equals n over 100. And now to solve, 3/5 equals n over 100. How many times will 5 go into 100? That's 20. So we're going to multiply 3 times 20 as well, and we get 60 over 100. So 3/5 equals 60 over 100, or 60%. 2 and 9/10. Rewrite as an improper fraction. So 2 times 10 is 20, plus 9 is 29. So we get 29 over 10. And now if we write that as a proportion, we get 29/10 equals n over 100. And now we're going to solve. So how many times will 10 go into 100? 10 times 10 equals 100. So 29 times 10 equals 290. So we get 290 over 100, or 290%. So G, we have two shaded or two circles that are divided up. First one is 5 out of 5 pie pieces of, let's say, pizza are shaded. And in the second one, 2 out of 5 pieces are shaded. The portion shaded is 1 2/5. So we're going to rewrite 1 2/5 as an improper fraction. And if we do 1 times 5 is 5, plus 2 is 7, we get 7/5. And then we'll write a proportion to solve for n. So we get 7/5 equals n over 100. And to solve it, we need to determine how many times 5 will go into 100, which is 20. So then we're going to multiply 7 by 20, and we get 140. So 140 over 100, or 140% of the model is shaded. Additional examples. Write a percent as a fraction or mixed number in simplest form. 60%. Definition of percent, 60% equals 60 over 100. Simplify. So the greatest common factor of 60 and 100 is 20. So 20 goes into 63 times, 20 goes into 105 times, we get 3/5. 140%, we can make that a fraction. 140% equals 140 over 100. We're going to write that as a mixed number. So we will make that 1 and 40 over 100. And then we'll simplify. Greatest common factor of 40 and 100 is 20. So we get 1 and 2/5. Lunch, use the table. What fraction of the class members preferred spaghetti for the school lunch? So if we go over and look at the table, 25 people preferred spaghetti. So it's 25 out of 100, because if you add all of the percents up, 30 plus 25 is 55, plus 20 is 75, plus 15 is 90, plus 10 is 100. So 25 for spaghetti and 100 for the total percent. If we simplify this, 25 and 100, the greatest common factor is 25. So we get 1/4. And then write 7/10 as a percent. So we're going to write the proportions. 7 over 10 equals n over 100. And to solve it, how many times will 10 go into 100? So 10 times 10 is 100. So 7 times 10 is 70. So 7/10 equals 70 over 100, or 70%. Write a percent. Write a percent to represent the shaded portion of the model. So there are 8 slices in each circle. The first one, 8 out of 8 are shaded, and the second one, 6 out of 8 are shaded. So the portion shaded is 1 6/8, right? The 8 out of the 8 is the 1, and then the 6 out of 8 is the 6/8. And if we simplify that, the greatest common factor of 6 and 8 is 2, so we get 1 3/4. Rewrite as an improper fraction. So 1 times 4 is 4, plus 3 is 7, so we get 7/4. Write as a proportion, 7/4 equals n over 100. And now we need to solve it, and we need to ask ourselves, what times 4 equals 100? 4 times 25 equals 100, so 7 times 25 equals 175. So 175 over 100 means that 175% of the model is shaded. Here is your homework assignment. Please go to Google Classrooms to submit it. Thank you, and I hope you have a great day.